Welcome to the Pro Ticker Deep Dive. Today we are diving into what might be the biggest energy paradox of our time. You have artificial intelligence, the
Yep.
absolute peak of digital, futuristic progress,
Right.
but it has this massive, hidden, and frankly, kind of an old school energy problem.
hmm And the fuel for this whole revolution,
Yeah.
it's demanding a comeback for an energy source a lot of people probably thought was, well, retired.
Nuclear power.
Exactly. It's this incredible convergence. And what our research shows is that it's being driven purely by this urgent need for scale.
So the growth of data centers is it's out of control.
It's exponential. And it's forcing the world's biggest tech giants, the hyperscalers, to move beyond their usual clean energy deals and pivot directly to nuclear. This isn't just another energy trend. It's fundamentally redefining the global power grid.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really answer this question. What happens when AI's hunger for energy, and we're talking about an amount that truly rivals entire nations, collides head-on with our climate goals? And I guess the critical question is nuclear really the only realistic solution that can guarantee that 247 uptime AI needs?
Or are they just placing some really, really big bets? Let's unpack it.
Okay, so to really appreciate the solution, you first have to grasp the magnitude of the problem. This power hunger from AI it's explosive.
The growth rate is completely unprecedented.
Mm.
These data centers, which are basically the digital factories for every single AI interaction you have, they're projected to draw more than triple the electricity by 2030 compared to just 2020.
Fritful.
Triple. And the raw numbers really tell the story. We are watching data center electricity demand leap from approximately 200 terawatt hours, or TWH,
That was in 2020.
right, in 2020. It's projected to hit nearly 1,300 TWH by 2035.
1,300 TWH. That number is just staggering on its own, but it really clicks when you realize that's enough to power entire developed countries.
It is. The speed of that demand increase suggests a catastrophic failure if we stick with traditional generation.
Which has to be why this pivot to nuclear is so urgent, especially somewhere like the United States.
Absolutely. The forecasts suggest hyperscale data centers could account for nearly 12% of total annual U.S. electricity use by 2030.
12%. Wow. What is that up from currently?
It's up from just 4% in 2024. A huge jump in only 6 years.
So if that's the pressure just domestically,
Yeah.
what does this look like globally? I mean, especially for markets that are already struggling with grid stability.
It's a massive challenge. Globally, the energy use for all this digital infrastructure is climbing so fast. Projections show it rising about 160% by 2030.
So the existing infrastructure just can't handle it.
It simply cannot sustain this rate of AI growth without adding new generation that's both stable and critically carbon-free. And that brings us right to the why nuclear question. Decarbonization efforts have, pushed utilities toward renewables like solar and wind.
Which is great.
But those sources are intermittent. They can't meet the always-on power needs of these incredibly complex, continuously learning AI models.
Right, you can't just tell your large language model to take an hour off because the sun went down. The demand for 247 uptime is absolute. But I have to ask, is that entirely fair to battery technology? I mean, large-scale battery storage is getting cheaper, more efficient. Why are hyperscalers spending billions on nuclear fission instead of just building these colossal battery farms next to their solar arrays?
It really comes down to density and scale. Only nuclear offers the trifecta that these hyperscalers need.
Okay, what's the trifecta?
It's uninterrupted power, incredibly high-density power, and carbon-free power, all at a meaningful, continuous scale. That stability and density, they're just non-negotiable.
So batteries can't cover it.
Batteries simply don't have the energy density or the multi-day uptime you'd need to cover every single contingency for a massive data center cluster. It's not even close.
So we're not just talking about the old, gigantic reactors of the past, though. The sources we looked at really emphasize a specific technology pivot. Small modular reactors, or SMRs.
Yes.
Why are SMRs the critical piece of this puzzle?
SMRs are a complete game changer. They address the two biggest historical barriers for nuclear: the massive scale and the siting complexity.
So they're smaller and more flexible.
Exactly. They offer all the stability and the zero carbon footprint of nuclear, but in a modular package. It allows data centers to essentially grow as they go.
That makes sense. So you can match capacity directly to the computational load.
Precisely. And you do it without needing the kind of massive, decades-long infrastructure project that completely overextends the often fragile traditional grid.
And it seems like this movement is gaining some serious institutional tailwind. It's not just a niche industry idea anymore.
Oh, not at all. We are seeing major policy convergence on this globally. Governments are recognizing they need this stable capacity to avoid economic slowdowns.
So you're seeing official support.
Definitely. We've seen endorsements from the White House. China is rapidly constructing next-gen reactors. Europe is embracing these SMR-powered energy parks. You have government targets and new regulatory frameworks all converging with private investment to speed this up.
This is where the market dynamics get really fascinating for me. Because the big tech firms, your Amazons, Microsofts, Googles, Metas, they're no longer just passive energy customers signing some standard agreement.
Right.
They're becoming energy developers themselves. They're making direct investments, signing long-term contracts with nuclear providers.
It's a dramatic shift in market power. I mean, to clarify, power purchase agreements, PPAs, are standard. But signing a multi-decade PPA for nuclear, that means big tech is taking on long-term risk and a capital commitment that is just, well, it's far beyond their typical clean energy deals.
Give an example.
Sure. Amazon has already picked up a nuclear-powered data center campus and signed multi-decade supply deals. They've spent over $2 billion on nuclear deals in just the past 2 years.
$2 billion. That level of direct spending, it fundamentally changes the risk profile of these companies. Are they basically utility companies now, just disguised as software firms?
In many ways, yes. And they are not alone. Microsoft, Google, Meta, they're all heavily engaged. The estimates we're seeing suggest each of them is investing somewhere between $1 and $1.5 billion in nuclear deals for their data centers.
So having access to clean, stable power isn't just a footnote in a sustainability report anymore. It's a competitive moat.
It's the competitive moat. Companies that can guarantee uninterruptible carbon-free power are commanding premium multiples in the digital infrastructure market. It proves that energy access now directly equates to market advantage.
And the market structure itself is evolving.
Rapidly. It's moving beyond that traditional utility model towards direct PPAs, co-located facilities.
Where the SMR is built right next to the data center.
Exactly, and even into private energy parks. The entire layout and the economics of digital infrastructure are being redefined by this single need for high-density, stable power. So when you look ahead, the opportunity here, this nuclear-backed AI economy, it seems like a potential win-win.
A win-win how?
You get all the digital growth, but it's untethered from fossil fuels and, crucially, from the limitations of our congested transmission grids. SMRs promise scalable, site-agnostic deployment. That's critical for both dense urban facilities and those remote, massive, hyperscale campuses.
But the scale of the challenge, it just can't be overstated. There was this one insight in our source material that just blew me away.
I think I know what you mean.
By 2035, the energy needs of data centers alone could approach half of the world's entire current nuclear output.
Half. It illustrates the sheer size of the gap that needs to be filled. And on the flip side, the size of the opportunity for nuclear to step in.
It's a massive growth area, but we have to be realistic about the roadblocks, right?
Absolutely. We have to be. For instance, there's a huge timeline mismatch.
What do you mean?
Well, nuclear projects are notorious for slow regulatory approval, complex engineering, cost overruns. This is a really tough match for AI speed to market, which is often measured in months, not decades.
Okay, so if AI moves in months and nuclear takes years, how do these companies bridge that gap? Does this mean big tech is secretly betting on, I don't know, massive regulatory streamlining, a fast track for SMR approvals?
They certainly are, because without that streamlining, they face a severe bottleneck. And the public perception issue is still very real.
Sure.
Despite all this renewed interest, nuclear still faces scrutiny over safety, waste management, and where to put these things. Policy, especially around streamlined licensing for new tech like SMRs, is still in flux. It has to accelerate to meet this demand.
And what about beyond policy? What about just the physical stuff you need to build them?
We face serious supply chain and workforce challenges there, too. There are potential choke points in the nuclear fuel supply, in critical materials, and maybe most importantly in skilled labor.
Because everyone is trying to build at once.
Exactly. Multiple global markets are racing to ramp up capacity at the same time.
And finally, there's that critical issue of perception versus reality.
Yes, the risk of greenwashing. Data center operators could face a lot of criticism if their PR claims about being carbon neutral get too far ahead of the actual deployment of nuclear capacity.
So they need to be transparent.
Robust, transparent carbon accounting is essential to maintain any credibility here. But, that said, early success in deploying even a few of these SMR-powered campuses will very rapidly turn this future promise into the new industry standard.
So if we synthesize everything from our deep dive today, the future of AI isn't just being written in lines of code, it's being written in kilowatts. The next era of digital greatness requires what you might call grid greatness.
And the tech sector is fundamentally rewriting the definition of what reliable energy even is. The bottom line is that nuclear, which was once sidelined, is now the critical enabler for 247 carbon-free AI at scale.
It really is a profound shift.
It is. It completely changes the investment landscape. It's moving energy market power away from the traditional utilities and putting it directly into the hands of these tech giants who are now forced to become energy producers themselves.
So a final thought for you to consider. How will this dramatic increase in energy demand and this pivot to private nuclear infrastructure change the investment landscape and the infrastructure priorities in your own region? See you all in the next ProTicker Deep Dive.